All right, last time we were here, the lecture was just covering these 3 assignments. So now that you've had a little bit of a time to work on it, you know, well, it can be kind of frustrating. So it's pretty simple, though. I want to emphasize how simple these are. You know, in reality, there's a lot of details, but for this one, all you're doing is picking 2 points and then calculating the rise over the run. All right, so that's number 4. Number 5. There was a lyric in the song that said y2 minus y1 in the numerator and x2 minus x1 in the denominator. And that's the entire subject of this assignment. Now, I know it's going to take you like 30 minutes, but all that I have to teach you is y2 minus y1 goes in the numerator and x2 minus x1 in the denominator. And then from there, it's just practice. That's why people often compare math to music, because, you know, it's one thing to say, you know, just play the key of G, but you have to practice it over and over to make it sound good. All right, and then the next assignment I'm on Saturday. The next assignment that I already have taught you how to do was slope from an equation in slope-intercept form, and we just barely talked about this one. The equation of a line is mx plus b, so m is the number that's in front of the x. So in this case, it's negative 10 over 3. And just sometimes they try to mix you up by putting the x at the end. But it's still, m is the number in front of the x. In this case, the number in front of the x is negative 14.25. And you also have to make sure to keep the negatives. All right, so those are the assignments that we talked about last time. Now, there's 3 new assignments that I'd like to talk about this time. 7, 8, and 9. So I'm going to start with number 7. Each one of these has to do with graphing a slope-intercept equation. So number 7, there's a particular way of doing this that makes it easier. The assignment says graph from a slope-intercept equation. So apparently we're making a picture from an equation, and here's the equation. And I talked to you before about the equation being mx plus b. So this is the number in front of the x is right here. It's 1. So m is 1 because the number in front of the x right here is 1. And then the intercept is here. So from the equation I can identify 2 things, the slope here in front of the x and the intercept here. Now that's the y-intercept. So I have some orange dots. And the y-intercept, I'm going to zoom out a little bit. The y-intercept, it says, is 4. So I can move this orange dot, and I need to move it somewhere on the y-axis, and I need to move it to the y-axis is 4. So I start my graph there at 4, and that's what the equation's telling me. Plus 4 means I start right there at 4. And then the slope is 1, because there's a number 1 if I wanted to think of it as 1 being in front of the x. So that means that from the first dot, so start on the first dot, you go up 1 to 5 and sideways 1 to 1. All right, so that means the slope is up 1 and sideways 1. So the equation here says start at 4, and then from your starting spot, you go up 1 and sideways 1. And so that's the graph of this equation. All right, let's try this one. I'm going to ask some people for this one. Where should I start my line? Nicole, where should I start on the y-axis? This is the y-intercept, and I represent it with the letter B. So plus 6 is where I start on the y-axis, and where do I start on the y-axis? Go ahead, Nicole. This orange dot, where should it go? Nicole, what is the y-intercept? I've highlighted it. I can't hear you. Go ahead. 6. I'm going to snip this, actually, so let me zoom out so that I can draw on it. So let's grab this. And for some reason, my marker, there it goes. I'm just going to pause. So in this assignment, I'm trying to draw a graph if I know the equation. Now the equation is y equals negative 1/4 x plus 6. Now we've been spending the previous 3 assignments, we spent a long time reminding ourselves that the slope was the rise over the run, and that to find it you need to draw the triangle so that you know that the rise is a certain number and the run is a certain other number. So the previous assignments were all about finding the slope by drawing a triangle. And the reason why it's worthwhile to struggle with that is that now you're an expert on how to interpret the slope. In an equation, this is telling me what the slope is. So the equation goes y equals m, so whatever is in front of the x is m, times x plus b. Okay, so if I were naming those things, I would call x and y, I would call those two things variables. Because x and y are the things that are changing. In other words, x and y can be anything. So x and y are going to stay in this equation. Here's y and here's x, and they could be anything. And the other two numbers, m here and b here, m and b are parameters. Parameters. In other words, those are numbers that are in the equation that I can just read off. So I'm going to write mx plus b on top of my equation again, and I want to figure out the two parameters. So again, it was the form of the equation goes y equals m times x plus b. Now I'm calling this a form. When you're filling out a form, you put your name in the name blank, you put your address in the address blank. So that's exactly what I'm going to do here. I'm going to put the slope in the slope blank, and I'm going to put the intercept in the intercept blank. Now, the slope is here. So the slope is the first number, and I can just read it off. The slope is negative 1 over 4. So I know that my line is going to go down. So that means it's going to go down 1 and then sideways 4. Right, 4. And that's what, because the run is 4. And then the other parameter is b. And b is the number that's over here by itself. b. b, we know, we're really familiar with the slope. b is called the y-intercept. And it's just right in the equation. It tells me where the line starts. In other words, where does it run into the y-axis? So I am going to move this orange dot so that it starts at, what was the intercept again here? It's green. The green intercept was what, Letitia? Was 6. Okay, so this equation, negative 1/4 x plus 6, says start the line at 6, go down 1, and then to the right 4, and you can put your other dot. So that's my strategy. I'm going to start at 6, go down 1, right 4. All right, and now I'm going to go back to the assignment so I can actually move things. All right, so this is my first orange dot. I'm going to move it where I start. Where do I start, Brianna? Okay, I'm going to go back. You started the y equals 6. Yeah, so I'm going to start here on the y-axis is 6, and then the slope was negative 1 over 4, and what did that tell me? It said what? Down from your starting point, go down 1, and then you go right 4. So the rise was negative 1 and the run was 4. So here I go. So this number here said start at 6, and I've done that. I started at 6. And then from that point, I'm going to go down 1, and I'm going to go to the right 1, 2, 3, 4. So if I were to draw that slope triangle, I would know that it goes down 1 and sideways 4. So I have here a line that starts at 6 and goes down 1, sideways 4, and I'm ready. Okay, so once you get practice at this, you can go really fast. Where do I start? Okay, so I'm going to move my first orange dot to where it starts. That's here at 3. Then I go up how many and sideways how many? Let me zoom in so everybody can see. How do you know it's up 1 and sideways 2? What's the slope? Start with what the slope is. The slope is a half because the intercept was 3. Okay, so you started at 3, and you can see that I moved my orange dot to 3. Okay, that's important that there's two different things, where you start and what it changes as. Could you put your cap on your marker? Thank you. Okay, so the slope was what? The number in front of the x. Jesus Sepulveda, the slope is what? 1 over 2, just 1 over 2. X is the variable. I wanted the parameter, 1 over 2. And so that means it's going to go up 1, because it goes rise over run, so up 1 and sideways, how many again? Sideways 2. So 3 was where I started. Let me zoom back out again. And I'm going to let Jonathan, you can do the next one. So the second dot, I start at 3. From 3, I go up 1 and sideways 2, and there's my line. It's a line that starts at 3, goes up 1, sideways 2. All right, Jonathan, where does this one start? Starts at 8, so that's the y-intercept, that's the y-axis. Do I go up or down? Down 4, because it's a negative, and then sideways how many, Nicole? Sideways 3, because the numerator is 3. Okay, and I'm going to stop the video there. That is the